सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। The Lord has created deliberately a perfectly imperfect world. Why has He created an imperfect world? So that it will be easy for us to detach ourselves from the world and attach ourselves to God. If He had created a perfect world, then all of us would have trapped in this world birth after birth. So how did He create an imperfect world? So those imperfections we have been seeing. In the first verse, what is pointed out? Limitations of the worldly knowledge. So the point to be kept in mind is, through worldly knowledge you are never going to attain the ultimate knowledge which will give you total fulfillment. The sign of knowledge is peace of mind, isn't it? Whenever a problem is solved, what is the immediate result? Peace. So why is it that we are seeking knowledge? We are seeking knowledge in order to find peace of mind. Right? So worldly knowledge in that sense is limited because it is not going to give you perfect peace of mind. That is why we have in science, I have been telling you many times, in physics, they have this uncertainty principle, the ultimate principle they say. What is this uncertainty principle? So they started getting into this atom. They found that there are subatomic particles, electrons, protons, neutrons, etc. And they started going deeper and deeper. Ultimately, what is the principle they arrived at? Uncertainty principle. They are not able to exactly locate the electron, something like that. Whether it is a particle or a wave, they don't know. So ultimately, the end of all research is confusion. That is why we say the worldly knowledge is limited. It cannot give you peace of mind. Why has it been created? It has been created so as to glorify spiritual knowledge. So in the first verse we saw the limitations of worldly knowledge. In the second we saw the limitations of worldly wealth. Again we seek wealth for happiness. So Bhagavan has created the world in such a way that wealth alone cannot give you happiness, the ultimate happiness we are talking of. So in order to gain that happiness, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to seek God alone. Again, the pleasures are also made finite, made imperfect, made full of defects. Why did he do so? He did so because he doesn't want his children to suffer in these finite pleasures of the world. Again, he made the relationships, the love between different relationships, human relationships, again he made it conditional relationship, conditional love. All human relationships are bound by conditional love. Why did he make it conditional? So that we will understand the value of unconditional love, isn't it? And that you get only from God. Again, he made all the relationships impermanent. Why did he make all relationships impermanent? So that we will value the permanent relationship which is only with God. Is it fine? So therefore, whatever Bhagavan does is perfect. So apparently it may appear that this is a very painful world, but this painful world is essential so that we may direct our attention from this world to the all blissful Lord. And then what did Bhagavan say? Bhagavan, Shankaracharya laments that such a wonderful Bhagavan is present, but nobody is seeking him. Everyone is busy living their mechanical life. Which verse says that? Balastavat Kridasaktaha. Everyone is busy. Unintelligently busy. I heard of an insect. There is one insect. 2 steps forward it will keep, then 2 steps backwards. Again 2 steps backwards, 2 steps forward. 2 steps sideways, 2 steps again sideways. So ultimately the whole day it is busy, but has it moved? No, it is in the same place only. Isn't it? In the same way we are all busy. Day and night we are busy. But ultimately, what is the result? Have you gained some peace? No. Even the little peace we had, that also gone. So this is our mechanical way of living. So Bhagavan laments, Parame Brahmani Kopina Sakta. Nobody is interested in the ultimate truth which alone can give us the ultimate peace. So then what are we supposed to do now? So Bhagavan says, change your lifestyle, change your thinking pattern. Don't live a mechanical life. How can you change your thinking pattern? Start questioning the most important aspects of life. Who am I? Where have I come from? Where will I go after death? What is death? So these are all the questions which we must try to find answers. Isn't it? And from where will you get the answers? Will you get it from worldly people? Impossible. You cannot get it if you are highly intelligent. You cannot get it from those people who have no idea. They may at the most misguide you. Avidyayam antare vartamanaha swayam dhiraha panditam manyamanaha dandhamyamanaha pariyanti moodhaha andhenaiva niyamana yathandha. This is the result if you approach worldly people for these kinds of questions, with these questions. This is said by Lord Death, Yamaraj, to Nachiketa. He says, in this world, majority of the people are blind, and those blind people are led by a minority blind. This is what is happening in the world. Andhenaiva niyamana yathandaha. If you see the leaders of the society, the great politicians, what are they doing? They themselves, they are blind. They don't know the values of life, the purpose of life, and they are the ones who are leading the majority. Isn't it? In the TV channels, you will find 90% of the time they occupy the main channels. They decide the news. Avidyayam antare vartamana. They remain in the avidya only. Ignorance. And what is their opinion about themselves? Swayam dhiraha panditham manyamana. They consider themselves as wise, very knowledgeable, fit to guide. That is what they consider themselves. So, Lord Death laughs at them. Nasamparaya pratibhati balam pramadyantam vittamohena mudham ayam loko nasti para iti mani punar vashamapadyate me. Yamaraj says, such people who think that this world alone is the truth, there is no other world, after that there is no world, they are, Lord Death says, balam. Balam means they are childish. They don't know anything about life. So what does Lord Death say? Punar vashamapadyate me. These foolish people, they again and again they come under my fold. Meaning, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, which will come later. Death after death, life after life. So now, why am I telling all this? I am telling all this because the most important questions in life can be answered only through spirituality, can be answered only by spiritual masters. You have to follow spirituality, then you will find all these questions getting solved with proper answers. If you have health problem, where should you go? You should go to doctor, isn't it? If you have economic problem, you should go to some economic consultant, whatever, isn't it? So what is the kind of problem you have? There is an expert, you have to approach that expert, isn't it? You love cricket, you want to get trained in cricket, what will you go? What will you do? You will approach some cricket coach, isn't it? So in each field there is an expert. Now with these questions, who am I? From where have I come? Where will I go? Don't approach a worldly person. He is not the right person to answer these questions. You must approach spiritual masters. So yesterday we had seen that. So from where will you get the answers? From satsang. You get the answers from satsang. Association with the wise, the knowledgeable, the liberated ones, and then listen to them, serve them, ask questions to them, and then you will find through satsang all these question getting solved, and ultimately you experience the ultimate peace. So now let us chant the verse number 9. Satsangatve nisangatvam Nisangatve nirmohatvam Nirmohatve nischalatatvam Nischalatatve jivan muktihi Bhaja Govindam Govindam bhaja mudhamate. Yes. So how that sufferings in life, how it goes away with satsang, that step by step happenings are described here. Satsangatve nisangatvam. With satsang what happens? With association with the wise, what happens? Nisangatvam happens, detachment. And with nisangatvam what happens? Nirmohatvam happens. All delusions of the mind goes away. And what happens when the delusions goes away? Nirmohatve nischalatattvam. When delusions goes away, you come face to face with the reality, which is the imperishable truth. And what happens when you experience that truth directly? When you realize the truth, what happens? Nischalatatve jivan muktihi. Once you realize this truth, you become totally liberated, free from birth and death. So what is the result of satsang? Freedom from birth and death. Later on we will see that in detail. Now let us see what is this. First line, Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Now first of all, let us understand what happens in satsang. What is the essential feature of a satsang? What can you call satsang? So in satsang, what happens is, the knowledge about the real and the unreal is clearly differentiated. Knowledge between what is good and what is bad. What is dharma, what is adharma. So in Kathopanishad, we use the term Shreyas and Preyas. Another term used is Vidya and Avidya, knowledge and ignorance. So in satsang, the two paths are clearly differentiated so that we can give up the path of evil and take up the path of good. Now what is the essential message of spirituality? The essential message of all scriptures is only one, that human being, we are all essentially God. Our nature is what? God. God means what? Which is infinite, which is immortal, which is of the nature of absolute existence, of the nature of consciousness, of the nature of bliss. So purpose of life is to know that I am none other than God. But how will you know it? You will know it when you are able to quieten the mind absolutely. So at the seat of meditation, you try to gain this direct experience by quietening the mind. But when we sit for meditation, the common experience that we have is either we go to sleep or we find that mind is wandering. So again the scriptures come to our aid. They say, your mind is wandering because the mind is impure. Now what do you mean by impure mind? An impure mind is a mind which is filled with negative qualities. Now what are those negative qualities? Greed, selfishness, anger, jealousy, lust. They are all negative qualities of the mind. So the scriptures say, as long as you are having these negative qualities, you will never have your mind under your control. At the seat of meditation, you are supposed to quieten the mind, for which you must have your mind under your control, because your instructions your mind has to obey. This will happen only if the mind is disciplined, and this discipline in the mind will be possible only if the mind is filled with good virtues. Mind has got all good virtues. Now what are those good virtues? Humility, compassion, love, tolerance, all those noble virtues are good virtues. So a mind which is filled with all these virtues, you will find that at the seat of meditation, it becomes very easy to quieten that mind. So therefore, if you want to have the highest experience of liberation, of God realization, where should we start from? Meditation is not the first point. What is the first level? The first level is cultivate all virtues in full measure. Na viruto duscharitat, na shanto na samahitah, na shantamanaso vapi, pratnyanena mapnuyat. Kathopanishad. Na viruto duscharita, those people who don't live a clean life, a virtuous life, a disciplined life, spirituality is not meant for them. How much ever intelligent they may be, sharp they may be, it is of no use. So what is the basic qualification of a spiritual seeker? The basic qualification is a pure heart, a good heart. He should be first a good person in his life. Such a person alone is fit for spirituality. So therefore, how should we start? The starting point is not meditation. The starting point is, even while you are living in this world, live as a good person, as a straightforward person. Because remember, whatever you do to the world, you are indirectly training your mind. Suppose I am cheating someone. I may think that I am cheating, therefore I am benefited. In fact, you are not benefited. What you are doing is you are training the mind how to cheat. At the seat of meditation, you will find the very same mind cheating you. So how you train your mind, the same way the mind will start behaving with you. So therefore, living a clean life in the world while fulfilling the responsibilities. Remember, indirectly you are training your mind. So how do you want your mind? Disciplined or indisciplined? If you want your mind to be disciplined, you must live a disciplined life. This is how you train the mind. Mind is trained by continuous repetition of thoughts. What kind of thoughts you repeat in your mind, that way the mind will get trained, and that way your personality will get molded. Your thoughts decide your personality. So a person who is living an indulgent life, compromising with all higher values, such a person will not have a firm, a strong personality, which is absolutely unavoidable in walking the spiritual path. So in satsang you learn these things. So after satsang, what happens to you? Suppose you are convinced with this logic, naturally your life will take a new turn now. You will have to give up all the bad habits of the past. You will have to change yourself. Isn't it? The books which you read, you will have to change. You will have to read only good books, because now you are aware that your mind is getting trained. Whatever kind of thoughts you are entertaining, indirectly it is training the mind. So what will you be doing? You will be very careful with everything. What kind of people you are mingling with, what kind of programs you are watching in the TV, what kind of website you are browsing in the internet, what kind of news you are reading in the newspaper, what kind of books you are reading, which kind of places you are going and visiting. All these things, it is molding your personality. So once you start attending satsang, naturally you will have this desire to uplift yourself, and for that you will have to make forth effort. And what is the effort? Exposing your mind to everything that is good and withdrawing the mind from everything that is bad. Isn't it? That is what is meant by satsangatve nissangatvam. So once you are convinced about the higher purpose of life through satsang, naturally you will become a nissangi. What is this nissangi? You will not cooperate with anything that is low, anything that is ignoble. So if somebody comes and says, come on, let us go for a chat, let us go for a movie, let us go for a gossip, what will be your answer after that? Once you are regularly attending satsang, you will say, sorry sir, I have something important to do. I have to attend some study class. If you are willing, you may come with me. Naturally that person will say, no, you only go. Nobody will be interested in coming to satsang, in coming to study class, etc. Worldly people will have no interest in these kinds of talks, these kinds of higher ways of thinking. Worldly people will be interested only in cheap pleasures of the world. So now you decide your life. How will you decide? Remember, it is you who is going to shape your destiny. It is not the Lord who is shaping everyone's destiny. No. Thought by thought, action by action, we alone are shaping our destiny. To give a simple example, suppose a child, as he studies first standard, second standard, third standard, slowly, suppose he develops an interest for physics and maths. Then what will he say? Okay, let us take an example. I want to become an engineer. Now he has developed a desire for engineering because he has been exposed to, say, maths and physics, etc. So now what kind of subjects will he choose? After 10th standard, he will choose the subjects where maths, physics, etc. is present. Isn't it? After that, what will you do? He will write the entrance exam. Why did he write it? Because he chose it. Isn't it? And then suppose, let us say, he passed and then he got into an engineering college. Now what kind of world will he experience? What kind of thoughts he had been entertaining continuously, that thoughts will decide the kind of world which he is exposed to. So naturally he will be exposed to engineering professors, he will be exposed to engineering classmates, he will be exposed to engineering devices, engineering books, engineering circuits, isn't it? Ultimately engineering problems, isn't it? Everything is engineering. Why? Because that is what he chose. How did he choose? By continuously entertaining that thought. Studying engineering subject means what? You are continuously choosing your destiny. By not allowing the thoughts to go anywhere else, by continuously, entertaining the thoughts in a particular direction. And slowly, the whole world around changes. He is ultimately put into an engineering campus, isn't it? So who decides the world around us? We ourselves, by the kind of thoughts we choose. So satsanga, in satsanga what happens? The person is inspired to lead something higher. Till now he never knew that this is possible. That I can experience divinity, I can experience infinity, I can experience immortality. This he never knew before. Through satsang he comes to know. Naturally this knowledge gives him an inspiration to live a higher and a nobler life. So then from this satsang what comes? Nissangatvam comes. Nissangatvam comes means what? Anything that does not take me to God, I am ready to drop. And anything that takes me to God, I am going to go for it, how much ever difficult it may be. This is called satsangatve nissangatva. So you will find that once you are entertaining the thoughts of spirituality, slowly your friend circles also will start changing. Isn't it? All the worldly people, slowly they will drop you. They will put some code name also for you. This is a Swami or a Swamini, something like that. And you don't bother. And they will make fun of you also. Isn't it? Slowly what happens is, the moment you stop cooperating in their gossip, they will stop coming to you. But in the process, when you start attending satsang again and again, you will form a new group of friends who are also interested in God. So now slowly your friend circles will change. Slowly the books, the type of books you are attracted to, those books also will change. The places you visit, that also will change. So slowly your entire world starts changing, isn't it? So don't blame God for whatever is happening to you. Remember, let us take the blame totally upon ourselves. Through our thoughts we have decided our present. Again, through our thoughts we can decide our future also. This total freedom is given by God. So never say, it is my prarabdha what to do, my karma and all. Everything you have only chosen. Don't bring in God in between. Poor God is only blessing whatever you have asked. Isn't it? What you ask, He just gives. So if you ask something bad, that also He gives. He just blesses. That's why His hand is always like this. Okay. Satsangatve nissangatvam. Then what happens? Nissangatve nirmohatvam. So with this satsang and nissang. What is this satsang and nissang? Associating yourself with the good and dissociating yourself with the bad. They go together. They cannot go parallelly. Satsang and dussang cannot go parallelly. Only one you can choose at a time. Isn't it? So together, combining these two, what happens? Nirmohatvam happens. Nirmohatvam means what? Freedom from all kinds of delusion. Because in satsang what happens is, you are taught how to think. You are taught how to think. You are told what is the nature of the world. You are told what is the nature of oneself. Who am I? Everything is taught in great clarity. The truth is present in front of you as it is. No masala is added. Those people who are interested in masalas, they will go for movies. They will not come for satsang. Here no masala is available. The truth is given as it is. So naturally what happens? Your moham, your delusion goes away. Now what is this moham? Definition is atasmin tad buddhihi. That is moham. Meaning, a thing does not have it, but you think that it has it. A thing does not have it, but because of delusion you think it has it. Or a thing has it, but you think it doesn't have it. Both are delusion or moham. To give some example, as we have seen, a person who is deluded will say, world gives me happiness. What is the source of happiness? World. In his superficial understanding, he comes to that conclusion because whenever someone criticizes him, he feels very bad. Whenever someone praises him, he feels good. So naturally, superficially, what conclusion will you come at? You will say, because this person criticizes me, I am miserable. Therefore, he is the cause of my suffering. So therefore, the world is the cause of my suffering. Isn't it? So therefore, we come to the conclusion, world is the cause of my happiness as well as misery. Now this is delusion. What is the cause of my misery? It is not the world, it is me myself. This knowledge you get only in satsang. So you are taught how to analyze a situation. So when someone criticizes you, what happens? Negative thoughts gets generated in your mind because of which you are miserable. When somebody criticizes, you are not able to take that criticism because of your ego, and that ego creates some kind of negative thoughts against that person. It is because of that negative thought you become miserable. So who is the cause? Is that person the cause or my mind is the cause? It is my own mind which is the cause. Now this is called proper analysis of the situation. Yes or no? The moment you entertain good thoughts, you have a cheerful mind. The moment you entertain negative thoughts, you have a miserable mind. So who is the cause of your happiness or misery? Your own thoughts. And who decide your thoughts? You yourself. So therefore, I am the cause of my own suffering. I am the cause of my own happiness and peace. This knowledge you gain from satsang. In satsang you are taught how to think right. The source of all happiness is right thinking, clarity. Vivekah, they say. Nirmohatam. You are free from all kinds of moham, delusion. Many mohams are there. I am this body. This is a moham. Who am I then? I am pure consciousness. This is knowledge. I am born and someday I will die. This is a moham. The truth is you are infinite, you are immortal, you have no death. So slowly what happens when you start attending satsangs, when you become more and more serious about spirituality, slowly this moham slowly goes away. It takes time. Years together it takes. It is not a 1 day or 2 day job. There is no crash course available. It takes the entire lifetime to prepare. Because evolution is always slow. Just like a flower blossoming. You will never see a flower suddenly coming up like this. Isn't it? It slowly comes. In the same way, the personality unfoldment also takes time. Maturity takes time. So we have to have enough patience. And what happens when this moham goes away, delusion goes away? Nirmohatve nischala tattvam. So once the mind is pure and clean, so at the seat of meditation, when you are able to keep that mind absolutely quiet, at that time, this truth which was already present starts revealing itself. It was already there, but because of your disturbed mind, you are not able to access it. But now when the mind becomes absolutely quiet, you come face to face with the truth. And what is that truth? Nischala tattvam. Tattva means truth. Which is nischalam, which is eternal, which is imperishable, all pervading, non-decaying. This truth you experience directly. It's a direct realization. Then what happens that direct realization? You come to know I am pure consciousness with an unimportant body. I am pure consciousness with an unimportant body. At present, what is our understanding about ourselves? I am body with an unimportant consciousness. That is why no research has been done on consciousness. Isn't it? You have so many branches of study over the body, anatomy and that and this and everything. Eyes, ears, everything. But how many subjects are there which studies about consciousness? Nothing. In the university you don't get that. So that has been, considered as secondary. So a deluded person say, I am the body. And no much importance is given to consciousness. Whereas a wise man say, I am consciousness, infinite consciousness, immortal consciousness with a body. Then what happens? The way in which he looks at the world changes. Isn't it? So from that time onwards, he will not have a fear of death. Why? Because the death is only for the body, it is not for consciousness. Now this is called Jivan Muktihi. Nischala Tattve Jivan Muktihi. Jivan Mukti means liberated while living. So though you may find that person with a body, but actually that person has no such attachment for the body at all. Because he is attached to something higher, something permanent, something eternal. To give a very common example, the wave example. So a deluded wave thinks that I am a wave with a particular shape, with a particular height, isn't it? Born on such and such time. Now what will be the condition of that deluded wave? That deluded wave will be scared of the shore. Isn't it? It is scared. Because coming near the shore means what? Death. The wave has to die. So therefore the moment it sees the shore, it starts trembling. Isn't it? And when that wave sees another big wave, it becomes jealous. Isn't it? Yes or no? But suppose when that wave attend the satsang, then the wave comes to know what? I am not this wave, I am water. So instead of paying attention to the wave, the form, the size, the height, now the wave starts paying attention to the content, which is the essence. So then the wave comes to know what? I am water with a form, which is unimportant. So now, will that enlightened wave, will it be afraid of shore? No. Because even when it meets the shore, it is not dead. Only the form changes. Isn't it? The wave says, I am water with a form. So the form may come and go, but water it remains. So therefore, it becomes fearless. Such a wave is called a Jivan Mukta wave. Isn't it? Jivan Mukta. Meaning what? It is free from birth and death now. That wave is free from birth and death. Because water is eternal. Isn't it? Remember, even that deluded wave is also eternal only. But because of that wrong notion that I am the shape, it is suffering. Yes? In the same way, at present we are all suffering. Because at present we have this moham very strongly. The delusion is strong that I am this body. So anything happening to the body, you may feel that it is happening to me. Isn't it? Anything happening to the body, it appears as though it is happening to me. Really speaking, nothing happens to you. You are just a pure witness, witnessing the change happening in the body, witnessing the change that is happening in the mind. You are a pure witness. You are a pure observer. And once you are able to get that taste of that observer in you, which is the real you, which you will get only through satsang, you will not get in any other place. Once you get the taste of that higher in you, you become a Jivan Mukta Purusha. Is it fine? So, Nischala Tattve Jivan Muktihi. Can you purchase this Jivan Mukti state? Can you purchase? By giving some, yesterday as I told you, some money to the pujari and all that. After my death, burn my body with sandalwood. Burn in such and such place. Nothing is going to help. This knowledge you have to gain by your own intelligent way of living. Everyone has to come out of this moham by oneself. No one can guide. Even your guru cannot guide. Guru can at this most show the way. See, this is the way. This is the way which I have come and I have crossed over. Now you can also walk. He can show you the path. Who has to walk? We ourselves. He can warn you. These are the traps. Beware. I have been caught in such and such trap. So beware. Because Guru also, after getting trapped in so many traps, ultimately he has come out. So therefore he also warns the seekers. So by falling many, many times, lifting up many, many times, again falling many, many times, ultimately the jiva or the individual soul evolves. And ultimately he becomes a Jivan Mukta Purusha. So see, it is the knowledge which removes the ignorance. So there is a cause-effect relationship. Suppose there is darkness. What are you supposed to do? Bring in light, isn't it? How to destroy darkness? There is only one way, bring in light. So the cause is light. Destruction of ignorance is the, destruction of darkness is the effect. In the same way, the cause is knowledge gained through satsang. Destruction of moham or delusion is the effect. So to point out this point, Bhagwan gives some examples. Verse number 10. Vayasi gate kah kama vikarah shushke nire kah kasarah kshine vitte kah parivaro ज्ञाते तत्वे कह संसारः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. Yes, the effect has come from the cause. Remove the cause, effect also will go away. This is the principle. So I am suffering because of ignorance. The cause of my suffering is ignorance. So therefore what am I supposed to do? Remove ignorance, your suffering also will be over. How to remove ignorance? Only through knowledge. Just like darkness can be removed only by light. The antidote for ignorance is knowledge. Some examples are given. Vayasi gate kah kama vikarah. The lusty thoughts. What is the cause? Youth. Only the young people will have lusty thoughts. So once that age passes away, that person will no more have such feelings. At least the body cannot execute those feelings. Shushke nire kah kasaraha. What is the cause of lake? Water is the cause. Once the water dries up, there is no more lake. Meaning, remove the cause, effect gets removed automatically. You don't have to pay attention to the effect. Effect goes away automatically. Isn't it? Just like cut the roots of the tree, automatically all the leaves, all the branches, twigs, everything will die of itself. Kshine vitte kaha parivaraha. Those people who are attached to you, maybe your relations, your friends, etc. They are attached because you are rich. But suppose you become poor, what happens? Automatically, they all go away. You don't have to send them out. They drop by themselves. In the same way, jnate tattve kaha samsaraha. Where is samsar? Samsara means suffering. In various forms we suffer. So don't try to find solution for each and every suffering. Go to the root cause. What is the root cause? Ignorance is the root cause. And therefore what is the remedy? Knowledge is the remedy. From where will you get the knowledge? Satsang. So, importance of satsang is highlighted here. Jnate tattve. Once you know the truth about yourself, who you are, pure consciousness, not the body. So the essence of satsang is mentioned in the next verse. Let us chant that. Ma kuru dhana jana yauvana garvam harati nimeshat kala sarvam मायामयमिदमखिलं बुद्ध्वा ब्रह्मपदं त्वं प्रविश विदित्वा भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. Yes, the essence of scriptural knowledge. What is the essence? The essence is this: an individual is constituted of two parts. One is matter, the other is consciousness. Every individual is made of two parts. One is consciousness, the other is matter. Now what is this matter? Anything that is made of 5 elements is matter. What are those 5 elements? Space, air, fire, water, earth. Anything that is made of these 5 elements, it is matter. So this world, is it matter or consciousness? It is matter. This body, is it matter or consciousness? It is also matter, right? Mind is also the subtle form of matter only. So other than this, there is something which is not matter. Who is that? Consciousness, which is the real me. So these two things we have to be very clear. This consciousness is sometimes called as Purushaha, and matter is called as Prakritihi in Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes this consciousness is called Atma, and this matter is called Anatma. Sometimes this consciousness is called Kshetrajnah, and matter is called Kshetraha. These are all different terms, but it's all the same. Or sometimes consciousness is called Brahman, and matter is called Maya. Whatever be the terms, it is only this much. There is consciousness, there is matter. Now the knowledge which you must have is, anything that belongs to matter has to change. It will come and go. Anything that belongs to matter. But there is only one thing which will not change, which will not leave you. And what is that? Consciousness. I am consciousness, and this consciousness is not going to leave me. But anything other than this consciousness, one day or the other, it will leave me. Now what are those things? Some lists are given. Ma kuru dhanajana yavvana garvam. Don't be proud of anything related to matter which is for the time being given to you. Your body, yavvana is mentioned here. Yavvana means youth. Don't be proud of that. Someday or the other, you will have to lose it. Anything that does not belong to you will go away from you someday or the other. This is the law of the universe. Your body belongs to the matter. It belongs to Prakriti. It has to go away. Dhanam, wealth. You remain a caretaker of wealth. But don't say the wealth is mine. Say Bhagwan's caretaker I am. He has given some wealth to me. I am just a caretaker. Don't say the wealth is mine. It only belongs to God. Dhana, Jana. Jana means what? People, your power, your position. They all belong to matter only. Prakriti, it belongs to God. So Dhana is money power, Jana is man power, Yavvana is muscle power. So MP3. Okay. So don't be proud of your MP3. Why? Harati nimeshat. In a nimisham, in a fraction of a second, it will be taken away from you without your notice, because it actually doesn't belong to you, isn't it? If I want to take this watch, should I ask you? I need not ask you, because it doesn't belong to you. In the same way, your body, your abilities, your talents, your capacities, your influence, your power, your position, everything will be taken away from you without even consulting you, because it never belonged to you. Okay, so don't be sad when something goes away. You are sad only because of your wrong notion, your moham, that it belonged to me. Nothing belongs to you in this life. This is the truth. then what belongs to you? There is one thing, and that is Brahma Padam. Maya mayamidam akhilam buddhva, having understood that the whole world is only a Maya, which has no real essence in itself. Having known this, viditva, tvam Brahma Padam pravisha, you enter into Brahma Padam. Now what is this entering into Brahma Padam? Entering into Brahma Padam means knowing yourself as this pure consciousness. The state of Brahman, the state of that pure consciousness, you enter. Now how do you enter? Entering means knowing, viditva. So what is the highest importance given to? Knowledge is given the highest importance. And where do you get that knowledge? Satsang. Don't forget this. Enter into this Brahma Padam. In Brahma Padam you are safe. Nobody can take away that Brahma Padam from you. Even if God wants to take you, He can't. Because it is you. Isn't it? It cannot be taken. As Puja Gurudev used to say, the world, even if you hold on, will slip. But God, even if you abandon Him, He will not abandon you. The one thing which you cannot abandon is God. He will always remain with you. Even if you dislike Him, He will be there with you. Even if you don't want Him, He will be there with you. Okay? So therefore, that state which is permanent, that state which is infinite, which is immortal, which is imperishable, seek that alone in life. In short, bhaja Govindam. Then someone said, see, I am very busy. I think I will go to satsang after retirement. I am so busy. I don't have time for all that. Once I am retired, once I am free, I will go there. One Amma came to me and said, Swamiji, I will attend your classes after my great grandson's marriage. I said, Amma, it is too early. So when should we start attending satsang? We should start attending it as early as possible. Remember, the process is not that easy. So therefore, as early as possible, you must prepare yourself. So here, in the next verse, Bhagavan gives the importance of time. Let us chant that. Dinayaminyau sayam pratah Shishiravasantav punarayatah Kalah kridati gacchatyayuh Tadapi namunchatyashavaayuh Bhaja Govindam Govindam bhaja mudhamate. Yes, make use of your time. Don't waste it. Once the time is gone, it's gone. Kalaha kridati. Time is sporting. And in the process, what is happening? Ayuhu gacchati. The life is ebbing away. How do we know whether time is going or not? Look around. Dinayaminyo. Day and night. And then sayam pratah. Dusk and dawn. Shishiravasantav. What is that? Winter and spring. They are coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. Don't see it just as a phenomenal, natural happening. See it as that your life is going away through all this day and night. Time is going away. So therefore, what we must do? Make use of this precious time. Don't waste it. So now in Hindu culture, we have a beautiful system. How we must live our life. So it is said first 25 years, it is Brahmacharya Ashrama, where the student studies about life. Going to some Gurukula, etc. Studying about life is what happens in Brahmacharya Ashrama. After that what? Grihastha Ashrama. It is experimenting with life. That is called Grihastha Ashrama. So what should be your ultimate conclusion after going through Grihastha Ashrama, family life? your ultimate conclusion is the first 6 verses. Limitations of worldly knowledge, limitations of worldly wealth, worldly pleasures, worldly love, worldly relationships. This, by the time you end up Grihastha you should have been convinced. Because only by going through experience you will understand all this. It is not by just studying scriptures. You must go through the experience, then only you will know. Yes, these pleasures are limited, world is limited, love is limited, isn't it? So for that, family life is the best way. Unless you experiment, you will never know. You will never learn. Parikshalokan karmachitan brahmanah nirvedamayat nastya kritakritena tadvijnanartham sa gurumevabhigachet samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. Parikshalokan. You do pariksha. Our scriptures doesn't say blindly believe. There is nothing called blind belief. Test yourself and then come to this conclusion. So now after Grihastha what you must do? Get into Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha doesn't mean going to forest. Because we don't have forest now. Where will the people go if everyone starts going to forest? Vanaprastha means withdrawing from the worldly life. More and more seclusion. More and more spending time in sadhana. That is called Vanaprastha. So what is the appropriate time? The scripture says the best time is when your children bear children. Meaning, when you see the face of your grandchild, understand it is time for Vanaprastha. Right? Now I'll spend some time here. So you can put on your armor. Because some arrows are going to come now. Normally, how people spend time. Remember, in Vanaprastha you are supposed to make use of your time because you are already in the evening stage of your life. Isn't it? So you must be serious about life. But what we find in this world is, unfortunately, no one is serious. The moment you retire, actually you have full time available, isn't it? You don't have to go to office now. Normally what we find is, this old person will sit either in front of the TV or in front of the newspaper. He will get some 4 or 5 newspapers. Because the whole day, what will he do? So read once, twice, thrice. And after having sufficiently filled his heart with all polluting news of the newspaper, then what? How long can you read? So therefore he will go to some place where all such old people gather. Because they are all in the same platform, nothing else to do. Can't sit quietly at home, restless. So therefore they all come together. And all are unwanted in their own homes. So they come together. So these people, they gather. And what is the hot topic? Naturally what you have read, that only will come out. It will be politics. This politician is not good, he is not good, the roads are not good. I am talking of man. Women, I will come later. Most hot topics, especially politics. And they talk as though they are going to decide the next prime minister. Their suggestions, their views have no value at all. But even then they speak. This person should have been the prime minister. About cricket also they speak. This person should have been the captain. This person has to be removed from the team. All useless talks. See, I don't say don't read newspaper. I don't say don't speak about this topic. That is not the point. I am saying how much time do you spend for all this? Isn't it? And now this, when normally people go beyond 60 years, they will have BP, sugar, cholesterol, they will be obese. So doctor will tell them, please do some exercise, morning walk. At least morning walk they could have kept quiet. No, they will go in group. Old people, they will grow and loudly they will talk. All this politics only. I am not criticizing anyone. What I am trying to say is, this is what we generally see in the world. How they waste time. Kalah kridati gacchati ayuhu. Nobody is serious. Now what is that? What are the topics which the women are interested in? They are interested in the masala serials. Especially the fight between the in-laws. Daughter-in-law, mother-in-law fight. And they cry in front of the TV and they want to share it with others. Husband doesn't want to listen, so they go to the neighboring. Either they will be talking about these in-law fights, the serials, or the vegetables, or something new, recipe, or jewelries, or cloth. So that is their department. This is how they spend their time. If nothing is available, they will fight with their own children, poke their nose into their affairs. So now in Vanaprastha, how you are supposed to live, our scriptures are very clear. Understand that you have lived your life, now allow your children to live your life. Don't unnecessarily interfere with their problem. Remain shut in your own room. Spend more and more time in studies. Don't spend your entire day in babysitting. That is also not your job. Many think that grandfather, grandmother, they are the cost-free, efficient babysitters. And many of them, they go to America also, because in America every hour you have to pay babysit, and that payment is heavy. So it is more cheaper if these old people go there, stay there for some few months. Remember, a person who is serious about spirituality, he is very alert. He values his time very much. So what does he do? Morning and evening he will not come out of his room. He will spend more and more time in spiritual. I don't say don't spend time with your grandchildren. That is not the point. You may spend time, but there has to be a limit. Spend more and more time in higher sadhanas. Early morning it is better for meditation. Later on, when the activities, the hustle bustles of the world increase, go to grosser type of sadhanas. Early morning, go to subtler sadhanas. As the day progresses, go to the grosser type of sadhanas, like for example Parayanam, reading of scriptures, etc., which doesn't need that much of attention, concentration, etc. At least a day, 10 hours you must spend in spirituality. After Vanaprastha, I am not giving these instructions to Grihasthas, because Grihastha means they will be filled with activity. They have to take care of their husband, children, responsibilities in the office. We are not talking of them. We are talking of Vanaprasthas. More and more time into sadhana. Yes, if your children want some advice, you may give so, but don't interfere into their affairs. Also, stop going to all these marriage functions and all that. Birthday function, marriage function. If you are serious about life, send your children or your grandchildren. Let them go and attend. This is how you save your time. If you are serious about life, you will be doing all this. If you are serious about spirituality, you have to do all this. The world will try to drag you out, but you should remain within your own room. You should learn. Eating also should be disciplined. Health has to be taken care. Eat light, because your digestive capacity has come down. Accept it. A doctor asked one old man, now you should eat only porridge. The old man asked, doctor, before food or after food? Don't be like that. Slowly discipline yourself. Now remember, all this discipline is possible only when you discipline it at a very young age. Be more serious about life. Then only you can face death with confidence, with fearlessness. You should say, yes, I am ready. Anytime Yama can come, I am ready. All my packing is done. I am ready to leave at any moment. Cheerfully you should say. Fearlessly, happily, you should be able to accept death. You should be able to invite. Death is also a beautiful phenomenon. You should be waiting for it. Let me go through that experience. How wonderful it is. Like that. So then somebody said, Swamiji, but what about these grihasthas? Attending satsang is very difficult. Why is it difficult? Attending satsang is difficult because we have so many responsibilities. Swamiji, you don't know. You are in the ashram. You don't know anything. We, the grihasthashramis, we have to pay the current bill, the water bill, the rent has to be paid, the children have to be educated. Isn't it? The parents' medical bill, they have to be filled. So much of responsibility is there. So therefore we have to earn. So where is the time for all this satsang? So The worry is about the responsibility that doesn't allow me to attend satsang. Then Bhagavan says, because you are worried about your responsibilities, you must attend satsang. How is that? Let us see. Kate kanta dhanagata chinta vatulakim tava nasti niyanta त्रिजगति सज्जन संगति रेका भवति भवार्णवतरणे नौका भज गोविंदम गोविंदम भज. Yes. Bhagavan says, oh mad fellow, it is because you don't attend satsang that you are worried about your responsibility. Because there is someone who has already taken care of your responsibility, which you are not aware. And you are not aware because you don't attend satsang. There is a Bhagavan who is taking care of the entire world. As we had seen earlier, it is because of what that the sun is rising? There is a Bhagavan, isn't it? It is because of what? Because the heart is beating. There is a Bhagavan. So the entire body is taken care by Bhagavan. The entire world is taken care by Bhagavan. So understand, your responsibilities as a wife, as a husband, they are all taken care already by a person. You are already traveling in a train where your luggage is also carried. Don't put your luggage on your head and say, I have to carry my burden. Don't do that. Train is already carrying it. What does Bhagavan say? Kate kanta dhanagata chinta. Why are you worried about earning? Why are you worried about your family members? Vatula, oh mad fellow, stupid. Kim tava nasti niyanta. Is there not a supreme Lord? The one who controls everything, the supreme controller. Is there not a supreme Lord who is taking care of everything? Who has given you the strength, the wisdom, the ability to fulfill your responsibilities? Who has given us the ability to fulfill our responsibility? It is that Lord alone. So if He is giving you a problem, He is giving you because He knows that you can solve it. And He knows it because He alone has given that ability to you to solve those problems. But this worry in you is only because you don't attend satsang. It is only in satsang that you will come to know that there is an unseen hand of the Lord which is taking care of everything. That unseen hand can be intuitively understood only by attending satsang. This knowledge is not available anywhere. Therefore, Trijagati Sajjana Sangati Eka. This one thing, what? In the three worlds, Sajjana Sangati alone is the nauka, is the boat. For what? Bhava Arnava Tarane. In crossing over this ocean of delusion, ocean of worldliness, the only boat is what? Sajjana Sangati or Satsang. So therefore, though you may be a householder, though you may be very, very busy, but even then, some time you should spend in Satsang. But whom to choose as Guru? Next guidance is that. Beware of fake gurus. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kasyid Dukkha Bhag Bhave Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om